Welcome! In my last video, I shared a few reasons why we may feel it is hard to feel and maintain happiness in our lives. Today, let's bring it up a notch. Let's inspire happiness right where we are. Before we move into the list of inspirations, first know that happiness is a key part of your expansion journey. So your soul wants to play. It wants to dabble with this life experience. It wants to learn all it can of what it is to be in this body that you're gifted. And even for those who don't really relate to the soul yet, we can't deny how many benefits playful living has to our well-being, right? We know now that not only does it actually rejuvenate and strengthen the body all the way into the bones, play helps us balance the use of our brain. It helps unleash our creativity, our problem-solving skills, our social interacting skills. And a playful attitude also takes the hard edge off our work, right? It makes it feel more meaningful, more intrinsically worth it. And sometimes that can really be the difference between doing something and not doing anything at all. So finding that perspective where our spiritual practices, our self-care and our duties are all leaning towards fun, and even also our perceived failures and difficulties, shortcomings are also seen with loving playfulness as something that we can challenge ourselves with. That really helps to break any patterns of avoidance that we might be carrying and allows us to do our service in the world with more presence. So we can teach our body to approach life with more playfulness by constantly reminding ourselves of it, by constantly being that playful person, right? So as we practice coming into a state of feeling good, of joyful vibrancy even, it can become second nature to the mind and the body. And that is the key. When the body remembers how to feel it, then we can use the body even if the mind is in kind of a mood, you know. So of course this is a longer process of reprogramming, and we may not feel playful at all when we set out on this journey to start to feel joy and play again. And that is okay. Patience is absolutely key on this journey. Patience and trust that the body somehow deep down remembers what it is to play, and that it just needs to get over this hump of seriousness that we have imposed on it by being adults. So really with practice, the body becomes free to just express its natural inclination to play, to happiness, and begins to crave it, begins to remind us of it without us having to work so hard for it. So let's get into some of my favorite practical tips and inspiration for how you might inspire some more joy in your life. Some of them you will heard before, and some of them are quite creative. Now the first tip is the most common, so hang in there for more creative ones. It is to write down all the joys that you can think of in your life. So what you used to enjoy, what you enjoy now, what you might enjoy in the future. Include how you liked to play as a child, what feels exciting to you right now. Take a moment to just write down as many joys as you can and challenge yourself. Can you make a list with 20? If you can you make a list with 40? Remember that these joys can be really small and simple. Often those are the most important ones because those are the ones we can do daily. So here is a list of possibilities to help you get started. Maybe moving your body. In what ways might your body feel good and happy as it is moving? Maybe connecting with nature, walking barefoot, forest bathing, watching the ocean or another natural environment around you. Maybe even creating a garland of flowers or a mandala with leaves and rocks. Creativity, again, try to be specific with what kinds of creativity feel joyful to you or have felt in the past. Adventure, is travel maybe something that sparks your fire, or maybe it is mountain climbing or some other sport that draws you. Connection to people and community. In what ways have you enjoyed in the past to connect with others? In what ways do you enjoy it now? Being with animals. Is there anything particular you enjoy doing? Is there any particular animal? Play in some way you loved as a child. Play-Doh, create a bracelet, climb a rock, whatever it was you did. Next one is to do something out of your ordinary schedule. So look at the stars at night, or go somewhere new for lunch, or go out to the countryside to play with the farm animals, or do horse riding or anything. Or maybe food is something that gives you delight, having a special meal or dessert, or enjoying your favorite drink, anything that comes to mind. While you have likely heard this tip before, it is for a reason. It is such a great support in those moments where you're kind of open to give yourself a moment of happiness, but you just don't remember what it is like. You don't remember how to do it. I think that all of us who do heavy healing work have been there, and I also often say that we need to help ourselves balance, to give ourselves both the shadow and light. So having this list accessible helps us to just see what is accessible for me in the here and now or this week. It is important to make a regular habit out of this, to prioritize this during maybe even a specific time slot every day or at least every week, because that hump of this playfulness not being so important, we need to get our work done first, can be so intrusive. It can be so strong. So just imagine what would happen with your schedule if playfulness, if joy would be the highest priority, the first thing you plan into your schedule. What would be different? So when you give yourself this space, you're showing your inner child, you're showing your inner joy that this matters to you, that you will give this space, whether it feels awkward and not very playful or fun at first or not. You are still keeping the space open, and that begins to create trust with this part of yourself, so that that can slowly, progressively step forward and take up that space of joy again. So my second tip for joy is, my personal favorite, is to allow deliberate time for imagination and daydreaming in your day-to-day life. So take on adventures in your imagination. My personal favorite, again, is to choose a joy avatar with which you could experience the most joy. What would that be like? Who would that be? And where would this person or being go? And that can be an extremely powerful tool to ignite joy in your own inner being, but it can also help you tackle challenges in day-to-day life. So those times where you felt happy but then you fell out of it, if you were that joy avatar, how would that being respond to these challenges? Maybe there is a different way, right? And so this is something that you can reinforce even with, perhaps you can have apparel that reminds you of this being, or perhaps you can have a visual reminder at your desk that reminds you. And this may help you put yourself into this different frame of mind where your whole approach to life and how it comes to you is different. And so just imagine, if you were this joy avatar, how might you respond to life differently? How might you express yourself differently? Go wild. This is your imagination. You can do anything in your imagination. My third tip is to take a paper and a pen. If you have a colored one, take a colored one, and just draw or write freely, maybe with your opposite hand, the one you don't usually use for writing. And just let your imagination go free as I say these words, or as you ponder these words. What comes up for you? Life affirming, vibrant, joyful, playful, fun, celebration. What is your relationship with these things? What do they bring up for you? And how can that help clarify what might change for you to feel more joy? Now choose what calls to you most in this list, and try to tune into that state, into that feeling state in your body as much as possible. Where is it the easiest? Where is it harder? Is it possible to spread that feeling through your body? Experiment freely with this. Take your time and just be curious and see what you learn. If it is difficult, that is also information. Don't be disheartened. That means you're learning something that can unlock more happiness. So any information here is good information. My fourth tip is another common one. Slow down. Take pauses for yourself during the day, because those are the moments where you become open and receptive to what is already good around you, right? It can be very hard to tap into happiness and play when we're still in that stress response. And it is true that playfulness reduces stress, but we must give ourselves enough space to tap into that mood at least a little bit in the first place, so that that boost can get started. Tip number 5 is another creative one. Go for a beauty hunt inside your home. Walk around in your home as if for the very first time, and just notice, how do you feel in the different rooms? How do you feel in the different corners of the rooms? Can you find anything that you appreciate particularly? Are there any beautiful things in that room that you're in? And what areas feel less inspiring? And how could you, in very easy, simple ways, make it more inspiring? Maybe you could bring something in from nature that helps bring something new into the space. Maybe some rocks from the beach, or some seashells, or a fresh flower. Or maybe you just need to declutter a bit. So all these things do matter. And take your space and be a detective, and just find out what 1 or 2 things you can do to beautify your home a little bit. Tip number 6 is another common one. Enlist an ally in your hunt for experiencing more joy. So this takes some self-honesty again, really looking at your circles. Who do I experience joy with, and who do I not? And how can I prioritize experiencing more joy with them? And if you don't have anyone like that, don't despair. There are communities out there. There are circles of people out there. So with whom might your joys overlap? Who could share the kinds of joy that you're having? And also consider, do you prioritize time for meeting the people who make you feel inspired? Is there anything that can change for you to prioritize that more? Tip number 7 is to be more intentional about using the power of your mind to look for the magic around you. So remember when you were a child on Christmas Eve, that excited anticipation or even wonder, that feeling you can source internally, just remembering that, or another occasion where you felt wonder. And when you look out the window first time in the morning, try to apply that. See where you can sense the immensity of nature happening all around you, of your body being able to perceive this miracle of being alive here and now. And so it takes remembrance, it takes a bit of knowledge, or the knowledge can help us as to how much of a miracle it is that our bodies keep renewing itself all the time, so that we can experience this, that the world keeps coming into creation in every single moment, all of the time. Find your ways of seeing the magic, and try to see that every day as you look out the window or as you wake up. Whether it's a sense of magic, of wonder, of excitement, of admiration for the world, for our ecosystems, all working together, that opening ourselves to the external environment and to our body in that external environment can really help set the tone of the day. And tip number 8 is to take an inventory of all the things you already do that can actually be pleasurable. You just tend to forget that they are. And these are the kinds of things that we've been told is work oftentimes, or we've been told is too much overthinking. So for example, me, I love analyzing specific things, and I love doing research, and I could call it work, but actually for me it's fun. For me it's play. Organizing is also play for me. So in what ways do you already play, and how can you make that become more visible to you, to remind yourself that you are already playing in your life? So this can in part be about releasing judgment about what others have said about your ways of play. Maybe you're fantasizing a lot and people tell you it's unhealthy to live in fantasy land. But the thing is, only you can know where the line is to unhealthy and healthy. And if fantasy is something that helps you feel happy in life, then maybe you can do both. Maybe you can live your life in reality and also have fantasy as a source of happiness, right? You choose your life experience. So that was my 8 tips for now to spark your joy and happiness. And I hope you feel inspired. And if you have even more ideas or even more insights, then please share it with us. We all want to feel more happiness. So I would love to see what you're thinking about that. And if you crave to connect more deeply over this, then please, again, don't miss the monthly meditations that I have the last Friday of the month, starting this June the 30th, which are all about playfulness and joy and finding that element, that consciousness inside of us again through meditation. And there will also be this mini workshop on July 12, which is also free, like the meditations, and where we'll dive into this joyful avatar and do a fun guided journey on that. And so I hope that you're excited to see me there, because I would be delighted to see you. I am grateful that you tuned in with me, and I hope to see you next time. Namaste.